said, no, we were wrong. It was a Mannlicher Carcano. It's this one.
Does anyone here buy? I've got a conspiracy theory that I kind of buy, and it's the for 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
I think we might have shot down that Pennsylvania plane. You know, one had hit the Pentagon, two had hit the Twin Towers. Apparently, they scrambled jets from D.C. that could have got there with plenty of time to be the shooter. The wreckage of it was spread out enough, whereas if it actually just crashed into the ground, it would all be in pretty much one spot. But there were like leaflets and shit that spread over the course of miles.
Broke up at altitude.
Yep. And I remember something about.
What do you think? What do you think happened to Building 7?
I don't know. Like whenever I say Building 7's really suspicious, there's somebody who understands this stuff better than me that says it makes sense.
Oh man, come on! I mean, that's just. I mean.
For people that don't know,
think that office fires on the top floor would make it crumble like a controlled demolition? That's just, man, come on. We can't afford to all be like.
I don't know.
Just be like, oh well, you're a smart guy, you're a reasonable guy. You probably haven't spent the obsessive time that maybe somebody like me would.
People say
you're too smart of a guy to look at it and go that's did not think it's bullshit.
But there's a really good popular mechanics. The people who made Loose Change, those people, they had a debate on some forum or another where the editor-in-chief and some other dude from Popular Mechanics, like experts in civil engineering, debated the Loose Change people and all the little quips that the Loose Change people had of the fuel wouldn't burn hot enough to do this and this and this and this would have to happen, and why did it collapse in this formation and whatnot. And it was only like an hour and a half long thing maybe, but the Popular Mechanics guys, the civil engineers, they had answers to everything. Like they would be like, well, the reason for that is because of this principle, and this is why this happens, and you can see this executed here and here as well.
A bunch of YouTubers have tested to see if jet fuel...
If you looked into it, like those Popular Mechanics guys, I mean, they didn't answer a lot of questions. They didn't answer a lot of shit that... I mean, there's another documentary. Loose Change was very good, but there's another documentary called The New Pearl Harbor that's 5.5 hours long. That
Jesus.
Its entire purpose is to refute the debunkers from the Popular Mechanics article. The people who are, there's a 45-minute documentary of it. This guy did. It was a scientist. It was like, who just did tests on the dust to find out what the explosive was that was used. And this guy he lost his career over it. Because he was vilified and fired by the university that he worked for, but these people don't have anything to gain by what they're telling you. Popular Mechanics does.
They might, but I just don't understand why the theatrics of it, when it just because easily could have been the terrorists found their way into the building and planted these bombs to make it be a controlled demolition, but their control, and they did this and that. Like, why add all the loose potential threads?
They did that, right?
Planes?
They did that the first time.
Does it make sense for guys in a cave in Pakistan to have all of this sort of privileged access to the buildings when there was time in the weeks leading up to 9/11 when they did shut down all the security cameras, they shut down all the alarms, they shut down all the sensors, and it just so happens that the guy who, the security company that was in charge of security for the World Trade Center was Bush's brother. His company. His company was in charge of security. It's like JFK. There's too many coincidences, just too many, for you to go, the official story. I know I wanted to believe it too, I guess, but
I do.
Man,
I believe that the Jets took the two big things down. I can sort of see a world where, like, the top of the building
they crumble like that.
So the top of the building drops a story or two, right? Because the steel beams, they don't melt, but they weaken from the fire. The whole thing drops, and that sends a shockwave all the way from top to bottom that makes the thing fall. Like, I can kind of get on board with that.
An hour later?
Building 7, I don't understand. Well, yeah, it takes a while to weaken the beams, right?
But I mean, this is one jet. It's one jet.
But you saw the flame keep going.
That's built for. I mean, but the engineers who designed the building said that this is impossible. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of scientists have come out. I mean, who refute it's just impossible for them to both. All three to crumble. They fell into their own footprint at free fall speed. I mean, that means like if you put if the top of the buildings were massively heavy, if you took that 2,500 pound thing that you had today and put it on top of a styrofoam cups stack, it dropped like that. It dropped like
there's no resistance.
Like there's no resistance whatsoever. And
all right, so who's pulling the strings? Who's behind this global conspiracy to control us by operating these puppeted politicians, these marionettes, if you will, to enslave the human population for what goal? What
Lockheed Martin is doing it, perhaps to
military-industrial complex. You're going back to the
sure. I think it's whoever has something to gain by what they've done. I mean,
Cheney had all those Hal Burton options.
It's no coincidence that
these global forces or national forces?
There was a group. There was a think tank called the Project for a New American Century that was a right-wing Republican think tank that was in the late 90s, and they drew up all this shit that they wanted to put into effect. But they said that the odds of them being able to put that into effect were very slim, except for in the case of a new Pearl Harbor, quote, new Pearl Harbor. And it just so happens that they win a very controversial election in 2000, go into office in January 2001. This happens in September 2001. And then a month later, all of this legislation that's been drawn up for a long time gets to be put into effect, which is the Patriot Act, which takes away two of the 10 Bill of Rights. I mean, illegal search and seizure, that's gone now. It's just, habeas corpus and shit like that. It's gone. And it's because of this. And this shit doesn't happen because some pissed off Arabs got a hold of some planes. Some pissed off Arabs who, of the 19 hijackers, like half of them have been found alive. They didn't even do it. Those guys are, I mean, we're just being taken for a ride by somebody. Do I know who? No. But you know what? That's because I don't have the memory for it. There's another documentary that actually names names and actually goes down the list of where they were, what they did, what they had to gain, and I wish I could tell you the name of it. It was, but go to YouTube. There's a wealth of information about it. It's staggering. It really is. And I don't mean to be like a dick just to be a dick because I just want to believe conspiracies, because I don't. I just think that there's
are there any other?
There's a lot of shit at work that they don't want you to think is at work.
Okay, so
real quick, what's the name of the 5.5 hour one?
The new